Hello everyone, and welcome to the Workboard Community Call for February. I'm Deidre Paknad, your host today and CEO of Workboard. Thank you for joining us and thank you for being a part of the community. Today I want to touch on a couple things. First, 2015 insights and takeaways from the year, then give you a look at the February release, and then we'll look forward at what's coming in March. So, quick, and first, I want to celebrate what you did in 2015. So, in 2015 on Workboard, you were an amazingly goal-focused group of people, and really things happened. So, we rolled out the goals module in spring of last year, and since then, you have made 10,000 goals that you've interacted with 192,000 times. That's goal focus. We're amazed and so delighted at how much interaction and how much goal orientation the teams on Workboard have. We rolled out meetings a bit later in the year, and since then you've set up 2,400 meetings, and from those meetings created 7,000 action items. So great follow through from the meetings, and of course a wonderful use case for making meetings more efficient and more effective. Which is what we heard from everyone was a key pain point. Less meetings, more effective meetings. And you also worked on 1 million action items last year, which is an amazing number and a lot of progress, and probably more importantly, and the number that actually makes me the happiest, is that you celebrated each other and cheered each other on with 107,000 badges last year. So amazing, and of course for us very, very exciting. That's a very different scale than 2014 Workboard, and it's a scale that we are very excited about. And the goals in the meetings module are really important and big moves for us and for the company, and we're just so excited about how well used they are and how well received they are by the user community. So thank you for that. What we see in 2016 is a trend towards radical clarity and agile management. So for the last 5 or 6 years or so, there's of course been a lot of discussion and a movement around agile development. But in fact, our whole organization needs to be agile and to be competitive and responsive and take advantage of new opportunities and transition organizations to new markets. We need more agility in the way the organization moves, achieves, and frankly, we need more agility in how we manage. So what we see with Deloitte, PwC, McKinsey, and the kind of strategy firms that really guide CIOs and CEOs as examples, really advising about more agile management models that increase the agility of the organization. We also see that in the frontline teams we work with and the CIOs, CEOs, and CMOs that we work with as well. And agile management means short-range goals, including methodologies like OKRs, which is a management model or methodology. More agility means more clarity across the organization and the ability to refine priorities on the fly. It means doing new things and embracing new things and being less attached to the way we've always done it. It means assuming change as opposed to assuming the status quo or assuming the constant. It's also a shift from reporting on the back end of a quarter with QBRs or quarterly business reviews and heavy reporting cycles at the end of every month to instead driving real-time clarity from the outset. It's shifting the energy from backward-facing to forward-looking. And the next is crazy focus. In other words, the ability to ruthlessly prioritize and use the clarity on what we really are trying to achieve to focus on what we're really trying to achieve, not just talk about it, and to do that to drive clearer victories. That's a challenge for a lot of organizations because in the organization, not everybody focuses or thinks about the same things. So while executives may be focused on metrics and performance, directors certainly need to focus on the reliability of their processes, managers need to make sure we get work done, and practitioners know the detail of the work, the steps, and the quality, and the translation challenge of going from metrics that executives see, translating that into the process and what we'll do in our actions is a challenge for a lot of organizations. And OKRs in particular are an agile management model that can help drive that translation so that we can connect details and actions and processes to the results and the goals the organization is trying to achieve. And we can do that with greater speed and greater clarity. In the second half of 2015, and actually accelerating a great deal in 2016, we launched what we call an OKR Accelerator Program. And it provides methodology training and OKR development and alignment coaching. We do change management work that helps organizations embrace a new way of thinking about achievement and a new vocabulary for that, and then transfer that methodology and process to, for example, internal PMO teams and so on. And that's a series of training around OKRs, coaching as teams execute through in a given quarter, and then supporting them at the end of the quarter where they take the insights from and the learnings from their first quarter of OKRs. I know some of you on the phone are part of one of our OKR Accelerator programs, and I think others of you on the phone are wondering how would you institutionalize and operationalize OKRs in your organization. It is a change, and there is often a benefit of taking a facilitated approach to change. What that looks like for us is really a first quarter OKR program where there's workshops and training up front, coaching and training and enablement in the middle, and then the best practices facilitation at the end. If that's of interest to you or your organization, feel free to reach out to Lauren or me or Samira or Victoria. We're happy to talk to you about it a bit more. So with that, let me turn to the February release of the app and the Workboard. I'm going to start with the good stuff. There are new badges coming, and as you can see, they're kind of cool badges. So Bill, if you're on the phone, your high five badge. I can't remember who sent us the Rockstar badge, but yes, the Rockstar badge, the wow and the go, and lots more ways to cheer each other on. So those are coming in the new release. It's maybe not technically the most difficult thing we're doing, but it's among the most fun. The next thing I want to mention is really important, and it's not that fun, and that's that we have a set of performance improvements that so clearly need to be made. We are working on those very diligently right now. There's a couple places where the app is just slower than it used to be. Part of that is there are a lot more of you than there used to be, but part of that is work we need to do to really optimize the action item details page, the way goals load, the speed with which you can update, the speed of interactions on the app. So we feel it too, because we live in Workboard, and we're working hard to improve the speed of the app and the responsiveness of the app. The next elements of this release are kind of chunky, so we're doing some nice work around goal engagement, and I want to show you something really cool with an interactive goal flow. And we're doing a bit of tuning on how you can order things on the heat map and the leaderboard, and making some spiffs to the My Goals page to make it just a little bit more fun, and also make a couple things a little more clear. On meetings, we're making some nice enhancements, and I'll show you what those look like. It'll be easier to identify what was a decision, what's an idea, what's a note, and what's an action item in your meetings. And then meetings on iPhone, and a new iPhone release will drop later this month as well. We've just pushed that into the App Store, so the Apple gods will decide when it becomes available, but hopefully that's, I'll say, in the next 7 days or so. And then on meetings, we'll have real-time interaction. So as you add topics and takeaways in a meeting, more than one person can be doing it at a time, and you'll see those contributions in real time. So you could have, for example, a virtual meeting with multiple note takers and multiple people doing takeaways. And then the next one, for a lot of you who are now have a variety of teams and you're collaborating across the organization, and a good number of you are collaborating beyond your organization with your partners and your customers. We're doing some things on work streams so that when you look at a work stream, you can see that there are 2 contributors or 15 contributors, and you can quickly see who those contributors are. So you'll know very, very easily and on the surface who has visibility to the work stream and the action items in that work stream. So those are the elements coming, and it's, I think, the week of the 20th or the 21st. It'll ship in that week, and we, of course, will send you an announcement with a little bit more detail about the features. The Resource Center will have the new insight or the new trainings around it, and you'll see it seamlessly when you log in that day. So let me start with the goal flow, which is the big cool thing. So as you know now, you can see the heat map where you can see goals across the organization and what people's objectives and key results are. And you can double click into the heat map or look at the leaderboard and see people's progress. But what's hard to see in that visualization is what the relationship between goals are and what the relationship between people are. So the new goal flow, or the interactive goal flow, will allow you to sort of walk through from person to person and goal to goal to see what the relationships are, whether those are goal dependencies or whether they're team and people relationships and their respective goals. So that one, I want to show you a quick look at that and show you what it looks like. This is not the production release, but it's a working prototype. So with that caveat, it's a working prototype, not live code, but I wanted you to see the interaction and how it can work. So the view I'm looking at now is looking at goal dependencies, and the red and green and yellow colors are whether the goal is on track or it's at risk or it's off track. And so the color in this instance has a meaning about the progress towards goal. So in this case, I'm starting I'm logged in here as a CIO who has an objective to shed our legacy infrastructure to lower costs. And he's got 3 key results or metrics that he's tracking around that. He wants to decommission servers, implement a unified communication system, and reduce storage run rate. I can see that those 3 goals translate into additional goals owned by, in this case, another goal owned by him to enable our line of business teams to be effective anywhere and everywhere. And there he wants to deploy 10 lightweight apps and mobile enable 10 of the top apps. That goal then connects to Irene Innovator's goal and depends on her goal to source ideas and foster innovation that can change our competitive position. And under her goal, she's measuring 4 things, including hosting 4 hackathons, researching new apps and processes, hosting innovation brainstorms for non-technical teams, and vetting 10 true breakthrough opportunities. Say that fast 3 times. And she's trying to accomplish those results in the quarter. So I see Irene's objective and her key results that tie up to Carl's objective and his key results. You can continue to walk and navigate down the organization and see, for example, that Francois, whose objective is to move the front office into the 21st century, you can see the linkage of his goal to Carl's goal and so on. So how he contributes, right? From Francois' perspective, and of course you can see from Carl's perspective, who's contributing to my overarching objectives for the organization. And as you walk the tree, it just keeps on unfolding and unfurling depending on where you are and what you want to look at. So you can really interact with it in several ways, and as the size of the line indicates how many branches are below it, how many goals and objectives are below it. So this view is looking at dependencies. These goals depend on each other. The other view looks at people, and in this case, Carl, the CIO, has a set of direct reports: Arnold App, Irene Innovator, Suzanne Storage. These names are not very creative, I know. But in this case, for example, I can see under Irene, we have art architecture and Courtney Cloud. And I can see, for example, in this case, Irene's objective to encourage a culture of innovation. She's at 17% on that. And then I see that art architecture contributes to a couple objectives that align up to Irene, including the objective to be invisibly on and to encourage a culture of innovation. And that Walter Work also contributes to the objective to be invisibly on. So if I'm Walter, I see how I can connect, and my contribution connects all the way up to, in this case, the CIO, right? And if I'm the CIO, I can understand who really makes stuff happen at this organization and who contributes and where they contribute into the mix. And again, in this case, you can just interact and navigate into the tree, explore it, see which organizations have which people under it, and you'll be able to browse across the organization, right, and understand the contributions that your peers and colleagues make, what's on their plate, and what they're working towards. So that's the new interactive goal flow, a view that is by people and their goals and how they connect, and a view that looks at goals and their dependencies and alignment. It will fit here on the goals menu. So now, in addition to having the My Goals view, which is the goals I'm specifically working on this quarter, and having the heat map, which will tell me where the trouble spots are, and I can see and interact with the heat map and the leaderboard and each team. I will also have the new alignment, which will let me see how goals align and people align, and to navigate that, to navigate relationships of goals and people. All right, so let me turn back to meetings, which I do not have a fancy prototype to show you yet, so I'm going to show you a fancy screenshot instead. So on meetings, where the new changes are down the left, and the way we organize the agenda. So in the current release, when you put action items, as the second item here is, and goals, as the third item is, when you put action items and goals on the agenda, they appeared at a list, or in a list on the bottom of the page. Now they'll appear actually integrated into the agenda. So your topics for discussion, the goals, and the action items for discussion will all be in the same list, and you can order that list how you'd like, drag things up and down, rearrange it, and so on. So the agenda will be a little bit more integrated. The other thing you'll see is down the left, every item has a bullet, and you can take that bullet, as you see on the bottom of the screen, you can click that bullet and turn things into, I didn't want to do that, turn things into an action item, an idea, and mark something as a decision, a note, or as resolved, an issue that was resolved in the meeting. And what that means is you look at the agenda and you look at the takeaways, you'll be able to quickly spot those things that were decided in the meeting, as an example. When you get the summary for the meeting, the decisions will be at the top, and then the takeaways, and so on. So it's just a little easier to look at your past agendas and understand what happened, a summary that's a little easier to use and understand, and a little device to help teams actually say, okay, we just made this decision, right? And have the confirmation that a decision was made to progress the meeting itself forward and close on a topic. The other thing that changes on meetings is that more than one person can add agenda items and takeaway items at a time, and you won't need to refresh the screen to see those items. They'll appear in real time, which is, so meetings are the first place we're doing that, but that's a really nice move forward for us in the app to get real-time interactions starting in meetings, but we will extend that real-time interaction elsewhere in the app as well. I know a lot of you are loving the meeting timer, which is this timer up at the top. That's obviously still there, but I just wanted to do a shout out to all the people who have sent us notes, told us about their meeting timing experiences, and so on. That was a wildly successful feature, and one that we debated internally whether you would value it or not, but it turns out it's kind of a superpower feature to turn that timer on and watch meetings go over time, and actually have more discipline in the meeting to stay on agenda and solve for the things we came together to solve for. The little screen you see on the right is the iPhone screen. So when the iPhone drops out of the App Store, you will have one-on-ones and group meetings on the iPhone. You'll be able to set up the meetings. You'll be able to add to the agenda and the takeaways and actually run the meeting from your phone, or add items to the agenda as you're in the elevator running to the meeting, all of those things. So you'll finally have meetings on phone, and I know a lot of you really want that. So that's going to be a great new release. There are other things coming on the iPhone and a lot of spiffs. So speed improvements. The navigation will be much, much easier. It's actually really cute and fun, and a giant step forward from an app experience perspective on a lot of levels. So a lot of things get better on the iPhone this round, but meetings is a completely net new. With that, let me turn to what's next and where we go from here. So in Q1, we are trying to get an iPad app complete. And as we do that iPad app, we are trying not to just take the web app or the mobile app and shove it on iPad. We're really trying to imagine the experience that you'd want to have, a real iPad experience. And so that requires us to think differently than we otherwise do, right? And step back from the web structure and step away from the iPhone structure and really think about a tablet structure, and iPad in particular. Take advantage of native capabilities, and of course make the touch experience a very good one. So we have started the design work on that, and the development work on that. It's really important to us to have that iPad app out, and I know for most executives that's a really crucial business tool. We get how important it is, and it's a priority for us to deliver the iPad app to you so you can go faster, be more mobile, carry less stuff around, and be more effective while you're doing it. The other things that we're working on in Q1 and I'll say for late March, are an ability to view quarter-to-quarter goals, so you can see goal progression over time. And we're going to take the the interactive goals view, and we'll do something similar so you can see your organization and how do people fit into the organization, how do teams fit in the organization, so that you have a visualization of team structure and organization structure and can more easily administer your organization yourself. And I know that that's a pressing need for a lot of you as well. And then there is a long laundry list of minor enhancements. Tune this here, move that there. Things like take a checklist item from an action item and turn it into an action item because it turned out to be a bigger animal and we need to take it off a checklist and make it its own AI. A set of things that are from you that you shared with us over the last month or 2 or 6 that are also coming in the pipe, and you'll see some of those things that you've requested in this next release. We try and load into each release 2 big animals and lots of little animals so that you get big new value and you also get continuous improvements in convenience and ease of use. I want to offer up 2 resources. You may have just gotten an email from us about a very cool new book called Radical Focus, written by Christina Wadke, who is and has for the last couple of years been an advisor to Workboard. She is an OKR guru, worked as a general manager at LinkedIn and at Zynga, a very great technical team leader and executive, and serious OKR expert. And she's written a wonderful book called Radical Focus. And what is so wonderful about it is that she uses the story of a team and a company and what they're trying to achieve, and she communicates the value of OKRs by telling a story of this company, the people, what they were trying to achieve, how it felt, the decisions they made, and the implications. So you're really drawn into the storytelling, which in that process makes clear what OKRs can do, how they work, how they fit, and so on. It's a great read. I found myself on page 154 without realizing, because I really meant to just look at the first few pages. It really pulls you in. It's a terrific book. If you're interested in OKRs and you want to know what it works, how it works, what it does, or you've tried it and the Google Docs thing and it's maybe not happening, or you can't get everybody else on board with OKRs, really check out the book. It's on Amazon. I think we sent certainly some of you an email with a link to the book. I think we're probably going to do that for the rest. We are pleased that Christina included a chapter that we contributed to the book, so we're also delighted to be included in it. But I really recommend it. It's educational, inspirational, and a very good read. Pretty hard to find a book that's all three of those things. The other thing I would offer up is we have a paper that a shorter one, that might be helpful called It's Goal Time, and that talks about methodologies for setting objectives and key results, engaging teams, translating objectives into metrics, into work streams, into actions, and it has some how-to language that might be helpful. So if either of those are interesting to you, you can chat that to us in the webinar window. Feel free to do that, or just drop us an email after the session and let us know. All right, with that, let me open up and see if there are any questions. And I have to figure out how to open up this thing and see if there are questions. So, will the meeting features also be available on the iPad app? Yes, absolutely. Actually, they're fantastic for meetings, right? Where you go in with a small, the phone's too small, you don't want to take your laptop, but the iPad is a perfect vehicle in a meeting, so yes. Another great question, what is OKR? So OKRs, or OKR stands for Objective and Key Results. And collectively, OKRs are a methodology for teams to drive clear understanding of the objectives they're trying to achieve and why they matter, the results, the measurements of success that would let them know that they were successful in achieving their objective, and the actions the team will take to achieve those results. So it's really, I'll call it a discipline. It's a management methodology for how teams communicate what they want to achieve and how they know they achieve it. So, iPhone app question. Will we be able to add people to the loop in an action item in the Workboard app? It's the #1 requested feature at our org. So unfortunately, in the release that dropped to the App Store this week, no. We will do another fast cycle release shortly after, so within a month, where in the loop will be added. It's not just the #1 requested at your org, it's the #1 requested, period. We were way down the path on development for this release and couldn't back into that, but we hear you, coming soon. Okay. Next one, any update on a Gmail tasks to calendar push? Gmail task to calendar push. I think I might be missing that, but maybe you mean pushing Gmail tasks into Workboard. I'm not quite sure on that one, so I will circle back with the person who asked me that and get clarity, and we'll give you an offline answer. Sorry about that. And the next question, I've not yet implemented badges. Any way to survey those companies that are using badges to get a better sense of how they're implementing it and how responsive their team is? That is an awesome question. I have a pretty good idea of how teams are using it and the response they're getting, but I think it would be great to have a conversation with the community where we talk about a couple things, and maybe we can have a conversation that talks about badges and also maybe pulse surveys, which are another interesting way to engage teams and understand how teams are engaged. I'll give you the short answer. Absolutely everyone likes being told thank you. We never get tired of hearing thank you, and we never get tired of getting a pat on the back, and we never get tired of our friends cheering us on and our colleagues cheering us on and giving us recognition when we do something good or interesting, or when something good or interesting happens in our personal life. So badges are they're great to give. They're even better to receive. There are a lot of teams, and Shahid, for example, at SJ Innovation, and Bill at Tacoma, where there's a real management awareness of the importance of regularly giving people a shout out. And what badges on both iPhone and on the web do is they make it really easy for, particularly for leaders who may not be extroverted and who may not be super comfortable sending effusive emails. It makes it really easy to just take a simple step of giving somebody a pat on the back, or a sweet badge for something that happened, or a hard hat badge when somebody had a tough day but you want to say, hey, hang in there, you're doing great. It's just an easy way, and because it's easy, people tend to do it more often. And then when people recognize and support each other more often, you have a culture, a team dynamic of recognition, which is an ingredient of momentum. But if you're interested in that, again, I will follow up after, and I think it'd be great to have a conversation with some of the leaders that are doing a lot of badges. Team members are doing a lot of badges, and increasingly our clients are also using things like Waggle to assess the team dynamics, and those things are kind of interconnected, so that might be a good community topic. Okay, let me read the next question here. So this one is, have you guys figured out a way of storing old completed action items for tracking purposes, or is the only option to delete it from your workstream or action items? Good question. Thank you for asking. So you can use the filters on your workstream or on your My Work page, and if you set the filter, it will just filter out the completed action items so they're not in your way. So you don't have to see them on your list, they're not sitting there, and so on. And so if you're on the My Work page, if you're on a workstream page, on the right-hand side at the top of the list of your action items, you'll see the word filter. If you click that, unselect or deselect the green done check mark, and it will automatically then hide all of your done action items. So the list you see will only be those things that aren't yet done. So that's one way of, in a sense, moving the done action items out of your field of view. They're still there. You can still go see them back by saying, now show me only the things I've done this year or this month, and so on. Another option is you can archive the workstream. So to archive a workstream, it packs up the workstream and all the action items in it and parks it in the archive. You can go get it later if you want, but it moves it out of your way and sets it aside as a closed and archived workstream. So to archive a workstream, on the workstream page, up in the right-hand corner, there's a little menu button that has 3 lines in a circle. We call it the hamburger menu. If you click that, you'll see how you can close a workstream, archive it, and you'll also see how you can move it, delete it, rename it, and so on. So there's 2 ways that you can take completed work and move them out of your way, and you certainly don't need to delete done action items, and we don't recommend deleting done action items, and there's a couple ways to work with and around that. So hopefully that helps. Okay. So recurring action items. When setting recurring action items as action item for the option for recurrence is numerical, i.e. 1, 2, 3, I'm probably going to ask my team to follow up on that part of the question. There's a couple more parts that I understand a little better. will Workboard be adding the option for day, i.e. Monday, Tuesday, etc.? So yes, I think we need to do, actually I just had this conversation yesterday with somebody else, to do stuff that's a little bit more, I'll call it Outlook-like on recurrence, so that it's the first Monday of the month, the second Tuesday, the third Thursday, those kinds of things that, for things like board meetings and director meetings and so on, where there's a rhythm that is about the day of the week. And the frequency. So we are looking at how to increase the, I'll call it the flexibility or the nuance for scheduling recurring meetings. I'm sorry, recurring action items, which would apply to recurring meetings. Okay. Let's see. I think that's most of the questions. So one question on the iPhone app, and maybe some of you have seen this as well. It's on the iPhone app, My Work hasn't updated. However, I've updated on the website. And should I update again, so i.e. mark something is done. On the iPhone app, and I think on most iPhone apps, to get it to refresh, you may need, especially if you're doing it in real time with your web app, you may need to just take your thumb and swipe down, and it will refresh the data set. And it's very similar to how you might do that on LinkedIn or Facebook and other pages. Just use your thumb, move it down, and you'll see at the top, you'll see a little refreshing cycle, and that should refresh it to sync it up with the whatever is up to date on the website version of Workboard. The two should be in sync most of the time, but if you are in a low connectivity place, you don't have Wi-Fi coverage, and it hasn't, or your phone's having a hard time connecting and getting and fetching the data, that little action to refresh it will help sync you back up to your web app. And I think that is the last of the questions. So with that, let me thank you again very much for being a part of the Workboard community, for your ideas and suggestions and input, and all those badges you've given and all those goals you've set and how focused you are on those. We appreciate it very much. We love working with you, and we love getting your ideas. And we are super excited about this next release, the performance improvements and the interactivity. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope it contributes to your success. Have a great day.